Associate members of the Covenant of the Enlightened do not enjoy or respect or prestige that Covenant peers do, but they are often the ones who do the most legwork. In order to be officially recognized as an associate of a peer, an individual will have to put in hours of thankless research and errand running for their sponsoring peer. Of course, like all who are drawn to the Enlightened, being in possession of a keen mind and a drive to push boundaries of human understanding is a prerequisite, but associates often lack the opportunity or financial means to secure actual peerage in the Covenant. Gerard Ayres was one such associate, a Parisian naturalist who had developed into a minor celebrity as he toured Paris society with his collection of primates. Gerard's real passion lay in animal physiology, and his personal menagerie was home to some impressive specimens. Showing a talent for specimen capture, he was approached by Warwick Hudson and earned a sponsorship into the Covenant as an associate following his calibration on the spectral containment technology with Hudson and Catherine Holst. The night of his accident, Ayres was working in his laboratory on a skin-healing accelerant that went horribly wrong. When the beaker exploded, the chemicals that sprayed over him were not yet mixed correctly and began to eat away at his flesh. Fortunately, Ayres had been playing host the evening before to Xavier Bichat, an elderly enlightened peer. When Bichat was brought back to the house, it was already too late. Gerard's skin had already been flensed from a large part of his body. Fortunately, Bichat was a keen study of restrictive Calvinic arts, having reanimated a simian construct just the previous evening for Gerard's entertainment. With very little time remaining, Xavier was forced to use that same construct to hold Ayres' brain. This process was rushed, and Xavier's knowledge of the techniques involved were far from extensive. As a result, Ayres retained very little motor function in his new body, and so, staggering like a victim of a massive stroke or palsy, Ayres was conveyed by sea to Countess Augustus Byron in the Union of Federated States. The journey brought him close to death, and his brain would not survive the trauma of a second transplant, so Gerard had little choice but to submit to a number of surgical procedures by the Countess that allowed him to regain greater control of his body, with the exception of his left arm. That was rectified by a prosthetic that Gerard significantly increased strength to further augment the exceptional size of his primate body. Although Gerard was grateful to still be alive, it would be impossible to return to Parisian society in his new form. He therefore spent some time in the Badlands of the Union, where open spaces away from the others were plentiful. One advantage of having a body of a 700-pound gorilla was vastly increased strength. Gerard was a sickly child, and life as an academic did nothing to increase his vitality, so the change was significant. He realized he could snap small trees, lift large rocks, and even hold a man bodily more than 30 feet through the air. He discovered the last fact when a group of American hunters mistook him for a trophy animal. It was while in the Badlands during the Atlas affair that the outlaw Jim Peterson gave him the nickname Mr. Ears. So extraordinary were the circumstances of their adventure together that the name was quickly adopted in the local press. And a year later, when President Johnson awarded them both in the inaugural Presidential Medal of Freedom, it was presented in the name of Mr. Ears. With a new sound sense of purpose, Mr. Ears joined the Warwick Hudson and the rest of his soul hunters on their expedition to Antarctica, armed with the wrangling tools he developed during the Atlas affair. Mr. Ears is determined to study the reported megafauna discovered in the Lost World and to create a new menagerie of wonders to show the world. To the common man, the Covenant of the Enlightened are little more than an exclusive club of intellectuals and aristocrats who sit in grand drawing rooms talking much and doing little, while the Covenant are at great pains to show that the reality is far removed from this. It must be acknowledged that there are some groups within the Enlightened that closely resemble this stereotype than they would like to admit. One such of these groups is the Hook and Ladder Club in New York City, so named due to their premise being located in a building that was originally destined for the nascent fire department. The club members specialize in an emergent field of parapsychology, a subject the common man might call the supernatural. The club's current augur, Warwick Hudson, leads all manners of discussion and theorizing into matters ephemeral and improbable. Like the club's founders, Hudson believes that all things can be explained by applying the scientific method. He maintains that there are, in an age of industrial superscience, and that any reports of strange and mysterious happenings from the wild west of America or the lost world of Antarctica are simply exaggerated or misunderstood by unreliable witnesses. Under the terms of his sponsorship by the British aristocrat Lord Buckland, Augur Hudson is required to have his scientific merits officially recognized, and that will require fieldwork. Hudson has been working for many months to assemble his team, to prepare them with such equipment as the most dangerous of environments and situations require. Armed with an array of esoteric and highly experimental weaponry, Hudson is set upon adventuring forth and collecting enough data to present the Hook and Ladder Club, therefore securing himself a position as a peer of a covenant in his own right. Hudson and his soul hunters, as the lurid press would dub them, follow up reports of spectral effects around the globe. Major expeditions are underway to both the Badlands of the Union as well as the Antarctic interior. At Augur's right hand is Erin Meltzer, a scientist and researcher with a passion for uncovering the unknown that almost burns as bright as his own. She is particularly fascinated by reports of the Badlands of Montana, of animals growing into almost impossible size and imbued with some etheric properties. Ernesto Falk is similarly obsessed with the physical, though more often of his thoughts of his own impressive physique, and he has a reputation in the club as a pugilist of some renown, a skill he developed while he studied at the University in Greenwich Village. Hans Spielmann is the quiet, contemplative member of the group, and will only contribute to a discussion when he deems it a necessity. The newly discovered flora and fauna of the Lost World is of great interest, and he believes that the energies that have brought such fantastical evolution are linked to the spectral anomalies found elsewhere. Jocasta Tobin is the writer and archivist of the Hook and Ladder Club. She documents all of her research and theories and promises to one day publish them as a guide to future investigators into the unexplained. Finally, Catherine Holst is the engineer, risk-taker, and the most outgoing of them all. It was Holst who collaborated with the French artist Gerard Ayres before his terrible accident, and made possible the spectral containment technology on which that research now relies so heavily on.